Hello, everyone. Oh shit. This, I did not see myself. That's not good. Oh, there it is. For some reason, it started with the video off. Well, hi. I'm Jordan Arel, and this is Intact Radio, episode 15, I think. 15, right? Oh shit, did that not update again? Thought I had issues with that last time. May have to fix that here. Which is a good continuation of my day, which has been a horrible, horrible day. um, yeah, why is that not, is it updating? I'm curious if it's updating on YouTube and Facebook. I apologize to everyone that we're on episode 15 now, and I'm still having serious technical issues. Restream is kind of, to be honest with you. It's not as user friendly as I would really wish it was. Okay, I think that's updated now. And let me just check though to see what my description looks like to see if it's what it should be. Yeah, good enough. Okay, great. Well, hello everybody, and thank you for joining me here today. So as always, I'd like to start out with intact news, what's going on in the world of intactivism. And as far as news, I don't have any news. I can't really think of anything actually. I was sorry I missed last week as well. I was in my grandpa's funeral and forgot to announce that. So that's why I was gone last week. And yeah, on a personal note, try to talk with my dad. I had asked him for $200 or $300 for my foreskin restoration devices a few years ago, and he gave me like $100 less than I asked for, which was like kind of not cool since I barely asked him for anything. You know, $1 million I think is appropriate amount to ask for if you want compensation for genital mutilation, more like some millions or billions. I mean, there's no monetary amount, right? Really, but like a good compromise might be $1 billion. So I asked him for a couple hundred to help pay for my restoration devices, and he gave me 100 less. And I've kind of felt a lot of hatred and rage and like anger toward him for that for the past few years. So I was like, hey, Dad, I want you to pay. I feel this way, and I want you to pay for the other $100. And he was kind of like making excuses and like getting super defensive. And I was like, Dad, I need you to listen to me if you want to continue to have a relationship. He's like, fine, then we're not gonna have a relationship. And he walked out and slammed the door. So guess that's um, just how it goes sometimes. But yeah, that's the news I have in my life. Guess I don't have a relationship with my dad anymore, which is fine. It's probably best for my mental health, honestly. Never isn't doing me any favors when I talk with him. So other news. By the way, anyone watching right now, please call in. There should be a link. It's not the first link that goes directly to the RESTREAM website, but the link after that, which is join the discussion on RESTREAM. And then there's a link where you can join the discussion. So please, please join, because right now there's no one here. So I'm all by myself, and I don't have anything to say. So I need someone else to come talk to me. And Foreskin Lava is in the comments here. Yeah, good comments. Good comments. Yeah. Foreskin Lava, I don't know who you are, but if you want to join the discussion, feel free to hop on. What else? Carter Steinhoff wanted to come on today and talk about some things, but he's just let me know that he's going to be late, so I don't know what that means, how late he's going to be. He wants to talk about some things, maybe here in a little bit. We have a new host. Oh, I did want to announce this actually right away and at the end too. Hope I remember. Please join us Friday at noon Pacific time, so an hour earlier than this one. And join the discussion with Wesley Wilson, who will be hosting a discussion on Intact Radio on foreskin restoration, I believe, is the main kind of topic he wants to talk about, but it could go other directions too. And thank you, Foreskin Lova, for being my secret admirer. Appreciate that. Yeah, what else? What else? Oh, I know why I didn't update, because the thing with Restream is if you try to schedule something, you have to do it more than an hour beforehand. I didn't know that, so I couldn't schedule this, so that's why it went back to the previous description and title. Now I realize why that happened. Which was also pretty serious. Like, why can't you schedule something half an hour before? That's just incredibly stupid. So anyways, what to talk about? Talk about burnout. I'm burning out hardcore. This work is hard. Trying to prevent and heal genital mutilation really causes you to have to confront your own experience of genital mutilation on a regular basis. And yeah, there's no easy solution for that. Right now, I'm looking into like doing like a 6 hour a day therapy program and doing that for like a few months because I honestly need that to be able to cope just with what I'm going through. Unfortunately, I've overscheduled myself with intactivist activities and am like, and also am in dire poverty and disabled because of my wrist and knee and ankle issues, tendonitis shit. So I'm needing to sell my car now because I can't do my current job anymore because I hurt my ankle, which I also can't walk because of. So, and I also don't have any money. So I'm trying to sell my car so I can get a new car so that I can do Uber and Lyft instead of food delivery. So I guess what I'm trying to say is stress and not having money are also, I think, big compounding things that make genital mutilation significantly worse. Also, having foreskin restoration go extremely slowly. It's going to take me I've done it for 7 years. It's going to take me for like another 20 or 30 years to finish because my skin grows so slow. And I think that's probably the worst part of it, honestly. Foreskin regeneration would be ideal, but restoration would be like good enough, I think, but that's going to take me forever. So that all kind of compounds the trauma, the genital mutilation trauma that I'm experiencing, which is, yeah, it's a serious problem for me right now. So Foreskin Police says he is honestly thinking about slowly starving himself on camera. New video every day as I slowly waste away. My parents might actually listen. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Yes, I'm vegan. Yeah, no, hunger strikes are great. Definitely a good thought. I feel like someone has to like know who you are, and it has to be really public to be effective. Like Gandhi obviously had a good shot at it. He was pretty successful because everyone was aware of him, and he was willing to do it until he practically died. So you have to kind of go all in. But yeah, doing like a public open letter to the American Academy of Pediatrics and be like, hey, I wrote this whole fucking thing for you about everything that I'm going through and why you need to change your thing. And, just have a really good kind of message and then be like, and so I'm going to starve myself publicly until you respond to this. and, and, or even get a group of people to do that or something. And then, if they don't respond to it, then you die, which is like kind of big news. I don't know. Um, oh, the asterisks. Are you correcting yourself? Okay, I don't know. Um, so anyhow, yeah, please, if you are watching this, feel free to join in the discussion. I would love to talk with any of you about what you're facing in terms of issues around circumcision, any questions that you might have. You can also just submit those in the chat if you want. I would be happy to respond. And or if there's anything specifically you would like me to talk about, I would be happy to oblige. But especially if you would like to join in the discussion, then please do. The link is in the description of this video. It's the second link after the RESTREAM link that links to their site so you can buy their product. If you want to sponsor me, by the way, I would be happy to remove the RESTREAM branding, and I can then also post to more channels, which is great. And I can also just do more stuff because right now I'm literally on the verge of homelessness, trying to like figure out my shit. So having help is truly helpful. Hold on one second. I'm getting text from Tyler Drozd, which reminds me, we also have the Foragen Community Action Group. If anyone is interested in joining that, it's a Foragen is going to be sort of branching out and doing some new innovative projects with this team, which I'm leading, and we will be, doing things related to activism, not activism, but related to Foragen and related to Intactivism, kind of trying to see how we can broaden our audience. For example, by reaching out to Intactivists, or we have a writing team right now who's writing new articles for Foragen. There's a great series on that actually. The on the Africa studies, or on the Africa not studies, but the whole campaign around quote unquote voluntary medical male circumcision, which is targeting children to mutilate their genitals. um, 2021, man. It's the way we do it, I guess. And so that's great. There's other things that Foragen is looking to doing as well, such as a social media outreach team, reaching out to people who mention circumcision or foreskin and talking to them about it. I think there's a lot of different cool things we could do, but yeah, I just need more people. So if you're interested in that, hit me up. You can email me at jordan@foragen.org, or it's FOREGEN.org, or just comment on here. Yeah, we're talking about diet in the chat apparently on YouTube, but I am gonna focus on Intactivism instead of that. So yeah, so I think it's really important to do whatever psychotherapy work or whatever related to that you need to do. I know it's really hard to find a psychotherapist. It's part of the problem there. On Circumcision Grief Reddit, there is a survey posted in the, I think it's still pinned. I had the moderators pin it. It's about two psychologists are doing a study to try to find out what men need from therapists in order to experience healing from a therapeutic relationship. And so they asked a bunch of men, what they would want basically. It's the sum of this survey. And it's really great. I'm excited to see where it goes. They also did interviews with men who have talked with therapists in the past and put together information from that. So something I'm very interested in. I know right now it's kind of like a toss up if you contact a therapist, if you can actually get therapy that's effective from them. I find that just asking the therapist beforehand if they are able and willing to work with this issue um, is a good is usually a good start, and let them know that you have PTSD or serious trauma from it, and that you need them to not invalidate you in any way, and just ask them if they're able to do that or not before meeting with them, through email or whatnot, or a phone conversation. So I would recommend doing that, and yeah, EMDR or um, other exposure therapies or DBT can be very helpful. Also, just learning in general can be very helpful. So I would recommend that. That's what I'm going to be doing. Again, I actually wrote a whole book on circumcision trauma healing, including a chapter that I just wrote for friends, family, partners, therapists um, who want to be helpful. But yeah, I'm still kind of in the editing phases of finishing that book, and I'm kind of burned out on that as well. And also really wait till I feel like I've gotten more through my healing process myself before I publish that, because I kind of had a recurrence lately and don't want to say I know the way to heal before I've actually myself healed all the way. Yeah, DBT is dialectical behavior therapy, which is similar to cognitive behavioral therapy, if you know what that is, except it um, is dialectical because it's based on both making change and finding acceptance. So changing your situation in whatever way you can, but at the same time accepting where you are right now. That's the dialectic in dialectical behavior therapy. And it also uses a lot of mindfulness. It's kind of one of the main things, which is very helpful for me. I find that just meditating for like 3 hours a day is honestly one of the best things I can do for my own mental health. Um, yeah. So again, anyone watching right now, I welcome you to join the discussion, or yeah, well, ideally join the discussion if you're so inclined, because I'm just kind of babbling about random stuff. It's more interesting if I have someone else to talk to who has things to say, or even just questions to ask. um, yeah, healing work, foraging. I guess the only other thing I have to talk about is activism. Those are kind of my three things. Um, regenerating the foreskin, doing psychological healing work to heal on that front, and eliminating genital mutilation from now and forever into the future. Uh, Nyarm asked if there's any updates on Foragin. No, there are not any updates on Foragin. I have zero updates on Foragin. If there are updates on Foragin, they will be shared in Foragin's newsletter. So subscribe to the newsletter if you are curious. That's how I get my news. Sometimes I get it a couple weeks early, occasionally, but usually I don't know anything in advance really. Hold on a second. It says it's not on Facebook, which is really not cool. I've been having so many issues with ReStream. I'm about ready to just fucking call it quits at this point and not use ReStream anymore, because like this has happened so many fucking times now. Why is this not posting to Facebook? Is this not actually not posting to Facebook? Um, uh, that's really odd. Sorry, everyone. Give me 1 minute here. Don't know why it's doing this now, or not doing this. That is really unfortunate. Huh. Although, yeah, whatever. Okay. Give me 1 second. I have to give my friend a link here so he can join our call. And then we will start off our conversation for the day with Carter Steinhoff, which should be very enlightening. He has some really interesting stuff to talk about. So just give me 1 second and we will do that. Okay, tech community. Okay. Livestream, blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. Cool. So anyways, yeah, Carter will be here in a second, so I'm not going to start off a new conversation topic right now. He's a good guy most of the time when he's not going crazy, which is about half the time. You know, we all get there. Homicidal. I'm actually not going to go there. I was just going to talk about certain mental ruts I get into, which are really not good. Mass homicide. Let's just put it that way. Not like millions, like just like hundreds of people at most. It would be good, you know. It would get us attention. I don't know. I'm again. I don't feel like I should go there. You know, violence in social movements, is it effective or not? It's a real question that I think people don't ask for good reasons, especially in public. You know, you can easily get in a lot of fucking trouble. But it's weird, you know, it's just weird that no one in the entire Intactivist movement has ever committed any acts of violence that I'm aware of. Like, I'm not aware of a single genital mutilation homicide that has ever occurred ever. Actually, I did see one thing in the news um, a while ago. I don't remember if that was FGM or MGM, but someone definitely killed the doctor or parents. And I was like, yes, finally. But I think it was like Africa or something. So, um, activist civil war. Good question. I don't know. Yeah. Uh, is Carter joining? Carter has not joined yet. I wonder if the link is working. I hope the link is working. Um, hold on. I'll try the link myself. There. Look at that. We're gonna have crazy echoes now. Okay. Yeah, so it's working. I don't know why Carter hasn't joined, but well, then I'll just start on a new topic. Okay, so yeah, ending genital mutilation was the other topic that I wanted to talk about today. So, how do we achieve that is the big question. And I still don't have an answer clearly. But I think the best thing we can do, and what I'm trying to do here and in other places, is just gather people together in one place and get them doing things. So here every day, I am asking people to join as a host of this show so that we can eventually build it up and have like a daily show and be doing this every day. and then from there grow it even more, and have multiple shows a day even, so that it's like people are just talking about this 24/7 on a certain channel that you can go on and be like, oh, what's happening in the movement, what's happening in the foreskin restoration channel or show, what's happening in regeneration, and kind of more specialized, topics. And I think I think the key is to just get everyone engaged, because right now there are a lot of people who care about this issue and they're just not doing anything, or not doing much, not doing anything effective. Um, so I think if we bring a lot of people together, and okay, Carter's joining in a second. If we can bring a lot of people together and get them to take some kind of action that's scalable, that we can have a bunch of people doing, then we can eventually build this up to be something really major. Right now it's too people are too disengaged from the movement. There aren't enough people on a day-to-day basis going out and actually doing things. Whether that's protesting, that's another good way. Not everyone wants to protest. I'm not a great protester, so just going on a video and talking about it, I think is a great way to do it. Creating groups. Uh, Carter wants to do stuff around lobbying the government and creating ways for people to do that. There's a lot of different things we can do, but I think the key is to, one, figure out how just like normal everyday people can get engaged. Give them a forum that they go into, this meeting, or they go into um, they have like a outline of how to contact your senator, or how to engage your local county meeting, or um, how to do some kind of activity that will continually move us closer toward the goal. And then the second thing is to be able to scale it. So why I'm doing this is because, if I can get more people to come on here, then I can get more people to ask more people to come. And so you can scale it bigger and bigger, and kind of grow it in that way by having more people invite more people and achieve virality. So um, yeah, that's my thoughts on how to end genital mutilation, is to get people doing something that's raises awareness. Right now there's very few people speaking up about this in public. I'm one of the only ones. I'm pretty sure. Um, and so I'm trying to get more people to do that, and to get those other people to get other people to do that. That's scaling and recruiting and bringing more people on and getting them to raise awareness. Because right now it's like everyone just assumed it's fine because no one's complaining about it. So like, how would anyone know? The onus is on us to fix it, whether that's right or wrong. That's just the fact of the matter. It's not going to be fixed unless we do something. And so, um, yeah, no. Some guy says, I can't read his name, um, but some guy apparently tracked down the doctor who did it to him and tortured him. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of action that we need. Scalable people coming and tracking down um, the perpetrators of systemic sexual violence on children and torturing them. I don't think that's controversial, actually, at all. You know, except the only controversial part, right, is genital mutilation violence. Is it abuse? Is it bad? I would say yes. I guess the other question is male quote unquote circumcision genital mutilation, to which I would love to have a conversation with anyone who wants the details on that. Um, I would say yes, it is. Strapping down a child and removing the most sensitive part of their genitals, the foreskin, I would say is indeed genital mutilation. Removing essential functions, etc. Yeah. Do videos where I go on Omegle and talk to random strangers about Intactivism. Yeah, no, that's a great method for sure. I think that's definitely one way that you could do it. I would like to see you doing videos about that. I'm kind of maxed out right now on my schedule, but I think that would be fantastic. Yeah, that's an example of something that you could definitely have a bunch of people doing, and I would be happy to promote that if someone wanted to put that together, or I'd be happy to collaborate on that. Yeah, but I don't have a webcam. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I think you could start a group of other people and recruit a group of other people to do it, maybe. Just a thought. Or you could buy a webcam. I don't know how much webcams cost, but save up for a month or two, and but you could get one. Yeah, guys, this takes work. I mean, it's not like it just happens. You have to like commit to it and do stuff. So it's a bit of work, but it's, you know, I don't know. Is ending genital mutilation worth a little bit of work? I would say yes. um, yeah, to be honest, this isn't directed toward you, Ivan, or anything. But in general, I feel like I should be encouraging people to hey Carter, just a second. To not or to do more stuff, basically. Like people should do stuff. So sick of people not taking action or taking responsibility for the movement and just expecting it to happen. It's like I'm too nice, I think, and that's not a good thing. I should be more of a hard ass sometimes and tell people to do shit. But I don't know. Hey Carter, how's it going?
Not bad, man. How are you?
Pretty good. But actually, I'm having a terrible day, to be honest. But I'm fine.
Shit, yeah, I hear you. What's bugging you the most?
Just a bunch of technical errors on my
Hmm.
computer, and I got up a little bit late, and then yeah, I have a bunch of shit to do, and just not getting anywhere. So
Gotcha. Well,
so
what were you? Sorry about that, but what were you guys discussing? Or I guess it's just you here right now.
yeah, no, I was just talking about, what was I talking about? Random things. Uh, you know, burning out, doing healing work, foreskin regeneration, and the community action groups that I've started. And then, yeah, we need to end genital mutilation. And I think the way to do that is to get more people engaged in the movement and find a way to scale that. And
Right.
then,
Yeah, there's some things that I want to share. It's actually on my other computer. Let me just move it over right now. It'll take me 1 second. But I think I can screen share with this, right? Is that correct? With share screen. Yeah, I can share my screen with
cool.
RESTREAM. RESTREAM is awesome. So what platforms are you streaming to concurrently right now?
It was supposed to be YouTube and Facebook, but for some reason the Facebook one is apparently not working. Restream's, it's kind of stupid sometimes. It's like, it's pretty good, but it's kind of dumb sometimes. Like I've had a lot of technical just shit not working.
I'm going to check it out here soon because I want to start streaming myself. And I think this is probably the best way to do it concurrently to multiple platforms. Unless you know of a better way. Give me 1 second. I'm going to move this up. Guess I'll just move this down so you can see me. I don't know.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? My mic's like right here, so you can't. My mic's over here, so it's kind of far away.
I can still hear.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Something about what you just said, and I totally forgot now.
No worries.
I'm burning out on stress. Yeah, sucks too, because like I want to be ready and have like a good conversation, but when I'm like burned out, I know I don't do as good of a job.
I hear you, bro. I'm totally burned out myself. So I want to present this though, and I have been thinking about that all day today. Is I came across some information. I shared it with you the other day around PEPFAR spending on voluntary medical male circumcision. That's what they're calling it in Africa.
Yeah, PEPFAR is the Presidential Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, supposedly.
Correct. Yes. Thank you for breaking that down. And they've spent billions of dollars in Africa. I want to get the actual metrics so I can share that later on, specifically, obviously, they're looking to fund their goal is to stop the spread of HIV in Africa. Like they want to create an AIDS-free generation, and that is absolutely great on paper. And they've done a lot of great things, a lot of great programs that have reduced the spread of HIV. But there's one program in particular that I find extremely concerning, and that's their initiative to circumcise Africans. And so I think so far they've said that they've had 22 million successful circumcisions of African men. That includes juveniles and infants as well. 22.8, I think, is the exact metric. And they've spent, the preliminary estimate that I came up with was $1.8 billion. And I got that from their official data. And then I found out how much they were spending specifically on circumcision. So I'm going to share that Google sheet as well with everyone so we can calculate. It's a breakdown by country and a breakdown by year. So how much spending for each year, and then you can just calculate all the spending for each year. And you can just do that with a simple formula. And when I did that, it came out to be $1.8 billion. So I calculated how much is being spent in each country for every year it's been going on, which is, I believe, 13 years now. Maybe less than that, though. It's all in the Google sheet. And after calculating how much was spent in each country for every year, that number that I got was $1.8 billion has been spent since this program's inception. For me, as a citizen of this country, that's incredibly concerning. And I think we should start elevating that as well, elevating that concern here among all intactivists, because I think you can have a very good argument. You say, look, I'm a U.S. taxpayer and I don't want my money going here. This is disgusting to me. Actually, we need to be very strong about that, because that's seriously concerning me. I think there's a huge ethical violation here. I don't think we should be doing tissue removal for any sexually transmitted disease reduction risk. I just don't think we should be doing that. So that's not something I want this country to promote. And it needs to stop immediately. We should, as soon as we stop that program, I think, the African people, or the people, not obviously all the African people, but in where this was practiced or where we incentivized this, promoted it, directly funded it, we're going to have to answer to that eventually. And if you go on Twitter, you'll find a lot of African men are speaking out about this, and they feel harmed. And recently there was this huge uptick in messages in South Africa, where like some thought leader, community leader posted something saying he regretted that he got circumcised through one of these programs, that was funded by our government. And a lot of other men started chiming in, and it caused this effect where all these men started speaking out about their experience getting circumcised as an adult or a juvenile, and how that's impacted them sexually. That's what they were talking about. They were like, I feel seriously impacted sexually by this. And I don't like that it happened.
Yeah.
So even if they weren't saying that, I still don't want this happening. This is unacceptable to me as a U.S. tax pay. We're not even, it's a lot of fucking money. 1.8 billion. That's the actual fucking metric.
Yeah. Another thing, you mentioned that yesterday when we talked that it really has been a pretty big problem for a lot of the infant circumcisions or youth circumcisions because it's caused a lot of loss of penis and like really serious complications like that. And when you say that number, like 1.8 billion or 1.8 billion, was it?
Yeah, 1.8 billion.
That actually doesn't surprise me because at all, because I can't imagine how cheaply they're trying to do this, right? Because it costs $1 billion. Circumcision in the United States every year is $1 billion to do 1 million circumcisions.
Right.
So if they're doing 20 million, they're doing it
No,
at 1/10 the cost.
absolutely. And I can't wait to share some of these resources in a minute, because how they're incentivizing Africans to get circumcised is so fucked up. And I'm so glad this is all public. I mean, they're harassing men pretty much into getting this, making them feel horrible about not doing it, terrorizing them. Seriously, that's how I look at it. That when I look at that situation, it is pretty much culturally forcing men into getting this done, or they're outcasts. That's what they're encouraging and incentivizing with their, and it's so obvious when you read these research clinical trials that they're a part of. There is government funded research and development into ways to incentivize Africans to get circumcised. And when you look into those, it's disgusting what they're doing, using women, like specifically understanding how to get women to, demand that men get circumcised, or trying to educate women on the benefits for them, and then having women go and incentivize their man to get circumcised. They're doing like studies into that, how to crack that code, figure out that process. There's one clinical trial going on right now called Like Father, Like Son. Here, give me 1 second. I'm going to send these materials over so then we can actually look at them real quick.
Okay. Yeah, there's a investigative journalist, Ryan Jones at Foragen, who has done some articles on Foragen's commentarium related to this. And he also mentioned something when I talked with them, that they're actually trying to expand this to other places. They were doing a research study in Thailand, which is similar to what you just, I think it's Thailand, similar to what you just mentioned, where they're trying to figure out ways that they could get it like implanted into that culture. Like, for example, trying to like get it adopted by Buddhist monks as like a spiritual like ritual, and like trying to like figure out if that's feasible. They're actually doing studies now to do that. So I don't know the extent of how much they're trying to do that in other places, but it's pretty serious. Crazy that they would do that.
Yeah, give me 1 second here. Sorry, I'm gonna be busy just for 2 seconds getting this set up.
Gotcha.
My end.
Yeah, I should really go. I should post those actually. I wish I had a link to it right here.
Can you see my screen right now by any chance?
Yeah, I can share that actually.
No, give me 1 second. I actually still need to set this up. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't have it. Intact radio.
Cool. I'm gonna get this. So if you type in Foregen Commentarium, you can find it, but I will also post a link to it right here, so you can look at these other articles if you are interested.
So should be able to share my screen now.
All right. 1 second. I'm gonna share this in the chat, and then I will do that. All right. That's the first. I guess it's on YouTube, not on Facebook. I guess I'm not on Facebook though, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. So I'm going to share like the source where I got all of this data from, because this is like my filtered down sheet of the original data, where I just got really what I filtered it on was the budget code. So everywhere, because this is for this, the larger version of this sheet, or the complete version of this sheet, is for all the spending for the year for PEPFAR. So PEPFAR's yearly spending for every year that since it's been initialized, created, which I guess would be in 2009. And so here we can see the breakdown for each country. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for each year. So the columns are the years when we start here. So from D to P. So it goes all the way to 2021. And so we get a breakdown for each country that PEPFAR is, or at least where these circumcision initiatives are taking place in. So in what country was it? Let me see here. It is, there's one, oh, here. This is not funny. It's disgusting is why I'm laughing how much money is being spent. So in South Africa, so what year is this here? 2014, 2015. Okay, so shit, where did it go? I'm just going to Control F, 77. There we go. Okay, yeah, this was South Africa. So it was row 27 there. So South Africa, yep, South Africa. So in 2019, $77 million was spent in this one country alone, in South Africa. But look how much has been spent there. Oh, that's like the biggest, that's their most targeted area for sure. Wow, look how much was spent in 2013 too. They're not playing around there. That's big money.
Yeah, that's quite a lot.
And that's not even for the whole country. What we also have to figure out is how much money is PEPFAR getting? This is a huge initiative by the United States, because they're pumping serious money just into circumcision here. I want to understand more about that. I feel like there's probably a lot of other areas of concern that this money is just not being spent effectively. But anyway, I'm focusing on this right now. I'm not, this is already so complicated to really figure out and explore. So I can't really look into anything else that's going on with them. But when we calculate all these cells up, Yeah, how can we do that again? Okay, so I'm just going to go into this cell and say result. And then I'm going to do this function's sum. And then take this, all these cells. No, that's fine. And then you get this number, which I'm just going to copy and then paste. Still copied the formula though, which was interesting. I'm just going to paste the values then. Yeah, there we go. So 1,826,629,500. I think. Wait, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the, yeah, that doesn't even, it just doesn't seem right though, even. I don't know. It just, I can't believe that much money has been spent on circumcision alone. I really want to know the data on this. Like, how are they directly measuring that this is reducing the circumcision rate?
They don't. Yeah, that was one of the results of the article.
I'm sorry. The HIV rate. I'm sorry, not this.
Yeah, no,
HIV
sorry.
rate.
Yeah, I know what
Yeah.
you meant.
Okay.
That was one of the things that Brian mentioned in his third article. They have no measurement of it whatsoever, as far as he mentioned. They don't track that. They just assume that it works.
Right.
Yeah, there's, and with what do you call it? Risk compensation. You know, it could be even having the opposite effect. You know, the United States has the highest rate of most STDs. It has a very high HIV rate, and it's like one of the most circumcised developed countries in the world. And we have of those developed countries, we have one of the highest rates. So it's it's concerning that we're not actually measuring the actual effect of this, because it very well.
I don't even. Yeah, I think concerning maybe isn't even the right word at this point. It's like unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
We need to be questioning this as citizens. The onus is on us. It's we can't blame anyone except us. If we're not doing anything about it, then we can't point to anyone else. This completely has to be exposed. So there's serious ethical violations here, and then is it even accomplishing their goal? Like, I actually want to get to the bottom is if circumcision has any disease prevention risk, because their theory is that when you just ablate a significant amount of the mucosal membrane tissue from the penis, and then the rest of the mucosal membrane tissue, you know, keratinizes and the properties change and it becomes less of a disease vector. Because mucosal tissue, when you, like, the truth is mucosal tissue is significantly more of a disease vector, based on my understanding. I definitely could be wrong on, but everything that I've read has pointed to this. It's easier for diseases to penetrate that tissue versus just regular epithelium tissue or whatever. I that's about the extent that I know. But so potentially there is some truth there. I think I would never give a fuck myself. I'm not doing anything to my penis for 100% risk reduction rate. I'm not removing tissue from my penis. So unfortunately that happened to me, but I would have never chosen this even for a 100% risk reduction in all sexually transmitted diseases. Never for me in a million years would I ever make that decision, and it's horrific that happened to me. But I want to understand if there's actually truth there or not. I still absolutely don't think it can be justified being done to infants, but I do want to understand if just removing, because why I want to understand that is because I don't believe it's true. I actually just don't think they're right. I think that it doesn't totally like nullify the ability to catch a sexually transmitted disease. And in Africa, what we've seen is people are significantly less likely to use condoms after getting circumcised. They've reported as like flesh on flesh contact for some reason. That's how I've read it as. And they think they can do that. The men think they can do that after getting circumcised. They're like, that's a component of why they want to, or, what they're looking forward to after that.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there's I think there's just an assumption that somehow there's this communication that, oh yeah, you still have to use condoms, and obviously everyone's going to continue doing that just as much, and that message is totally clear, and that everyone just
Right.
accepts that that's true. And I don't think that's accurate at all. I think that the assumption there is completely bogus. I think that's totally wrong. And also what's interesting too is I don't know to what extent they are encouraging condom use and like really hitting home that point, but that's like, as far as cost of effectiveness, I think that's like 100 times or something more cost effective. I forget what the rate is exactly, but I've
Yeah.
read about that it's just doesn't, like, cost effectively, it doesn't make any sense either.
Yeah. I also just absolutely do not believe it's reducing the risk, especially to the degree that they're saying it does. But I think there's a lot of potential for the risk to have been increased significantly. So it's not only, even if they didn't even accomplish the goal they were trying to do it. We just threw 1.8 fucking billion dollars down the drain. It's actually an atrocity what happened. It's not just we wasted the money. We committed an atrocity in Africa, and it's totally like this colonizer type of fucking shit. It's everything we're told is unacceptable and it can't happen again is happening right now in the fucking worst of ways. So all of this going to another country and fucking taking advantage of these people and doing some weird fucking science voodoo crazy ass shit in this country, that's what we're doing right now. We just were explained to us and going through our education process on how we can't be doing this shit anymore, and we're still fucking doing this, and we know better, and we really all know better. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's fucking just, guys, man, we keep fucking up.
Yeah, I really look forward to when we do have to pay for it and compensate for it by, I don't know how many hundreds of billions of, I would assume it's somewhere in the hundreds of billions of dollars at least, that we would have to pay back for the harm we've done. But I think, I don't know if anyone's considered that, like if it's actually seriously harmful, which it is. And as we're seeing now with men speaking up about it, you know, I think Africa is only going to continue moving forward as a country as it develops, and people are going to very soon be to the point where they actually start asking that question. Like, what the fuck did you do to us? Like, this is unbelievable,
And it's really disgusting when
we
you
demand restitution.
it's fucking so disgusting. We encourage like penile modification surgeries on men in mass, and we're doing it in our own country. But these same fucking people went to another country, another continent, and promoted it across the whole continent in the worst way possible, like in the most unethical way you could possibly incentivize this among people. Anyway, yeah, and they think they're doing a good thing, and they're just, it's such a blasé attitude. They're not, their data isn't there to support this. There's just no oversight. There's no fucking oversight. We don't know the efficiency of this, and the thing is that shouldn't even be a part of the conversation. We shouldn't be asking what really the efficient. We should really just be saying, this is not going to happen, because it's not, we're not interested as taxpayers of this country in incentivizing tissue removal from men's penises for any reason.
Right.
So we're not a part of this anymore. That's where I stand.
Yeah, it's good. I think that viewpoint is really important as just even just a leverage point, or as a point of conversation, in the discussion, as we're approaching legislators or trying to address this issue on a broader scale. I think that's an important point to be able to bring up, like that we're spending this much money to do something that's so bizarre when we know that it's harm, and especially when we're not spending any money for the victims who are like extremely harmed by this, when
Right.
that's so
And that
commonsensical.
brings me, yeah, to my next point. Thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely. So can we go back to my screen real quick?
Sure.
So the first thing that I'd like to share with you here, Jordan, is actually a YouTube video. I hope it comes through the stream well. Huh. That might not be it, actually. All right, give me 1 second here. Sorry.
All right. By the way, just checking, there isn't any nudity or pictures of circumcision in the video, is there?
No, it's a bioprinting video. So a regenerative medicine video. That's, I think, like 5 minutes long.
All right. We can get banned for nudity, or apparently for talking about suicide. So trying to make sure to not do that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you see my screen now?
3 months. I think I actually just got it back, so I should be able to post on Facebook.
Okay.
Yes.
But you're not streaming to Facebook. I think YouTube's a lot less strict. To be honest with you, they'll allow a little more in the right context. Like if we were sharing anatomical things right now, we might be able to get away with it on YouTube in a live stream if we were doing it in an educational way. I know you can definitely post. Yeah, on Facebook though, they'll hit you every single time. Yeah. So, alrighty. So, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, I think so. This is a video for 3D bioprinting of tissues. So I really think we should just watch the video instead of me trying to give an explanation of it. This is like a primer on that. And I think it kind of gives a good synopsis of where 3D bioprinting is at right now, in terms of being a realistic solution for foreskin regeneration, or really more appropriately, maybe like the tissues in that area, like the prepuce, the frenulum, the ridge band. Like there's specialized areas to this whole thing that's been coined the foreskin. So those are like almost unique pursuits in their own right. So restoring the frenulum is going to be a little different than just restoring the rest of the prepuce, and same with the ridge band and all these unique areas, like the properties of that tissue. It may very well be that it's just difficult to get those properties fine-tuned the way they would have been in its completely organic original state. But it might be possible, but there might be a solution significantly before that is just like one type of tissue, or maybe it's not as specialized in each area as it could be, but it's still a viable option for people. But anyway, I'll explain that maybe later on, but we'll check this out right now. So can you hear it too?
What do the science fiction classics Westworld?
Is it clear? Does it sound good?
I'm trying to see if I can turn up the volume.
Is it coming through my mic? If it's coming through my mic, then I'll put it closer.
I think it might be coming through your mic, yeah, because I don't see any sound option on the
Fifth Element all have in common.
How does that sound?
All of these sci-fi films feature 3D bioprinting in one form or another. Soon, this technology could allow your doctor to print you a new organ on demand. The rising demand in bioprinting has fueled fresh innovation in the field. Researchers are working to create a future where damaged organs could be replaced using a printer. Bioprinting is slowly becoming more and more feasible. The world of 3D printing is one of the most exciting sectors, as well as one of the most practical and useful. What is bioprinting? Bioprinting is not as difficult as you might think. It is actually very similar to the additive manufacturing processes that you may be familiar with. As with other types of additive manufacturing, bioprinting uses a digital file as a blueprint to print an object. But unlike 3D printing, bioprinters print with cells and biomaterials, creating organ-like structures that let living cells within them multiply to form a new organ. Just like your FDM or SLA printer on your desktop, these organs are printed layer by layer. However, rather than using a CAD file, researchers create a digital model using computed tomography and MRI scans. So far, researchers have 3D printed an antibacterial tooth, an ovary, a bionic ear, elastic bones, lungs, and even a heart. Are we printing skin already? Yes, skin is the largest organ on our body, and as such, it is essential to our overall health. It is our first line of defense against many types of infection and disease, but it is also susceptible to damage from injuries like burns and cuts. When not treated immediately, these injuries can become infected. Very severe skin injuries require skin grafts, but a close match is needed between donor and host to accomplish that. For this reason, many skin grafts use skin removed from the injured person's body. This involves taking skin from an unaffected area of the body and applying it to the injured area. However, this is not a simple copy and paste procedure. These skin grafts can still be rejected by the body and can become infected. Skin bioprinting is making things much easier and could be a game-changing alternative. But how does it work? Currently, most processes for 3D printing skin work similarly. Some bioprinters can even lay down strips of skin on the affected area. However, this process is still a bit slow to be practical. Nevertheless, some doctors and scientists are already testing bioprinters that can create skin transplants. Researchers at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in New York have developed a way to 3D print living skin that comes complete with blood vessels. To date, this is one of the most advanced methods of 3D printed skin that the world has seen. Other prominent research institutions like the Wake Forest Institute for
it's important to take note of this right now, actually.
Research
this
institutions like
Wake
the Wake
Forest Institute. Just remember that name.
Institute for Regenerative Medicine and the University of Toronto have developed functional skin bioprinters. Wake Forest has been leading the charge in bioprinting, successfully creating organs like a bladder and cardiovascular tissue. One of their recent printers has demonstrated the ability to print 3 types of skin cells. At the same time, the University of Toronto has developed a portable bioprinting device the size of a small shoebox. However, more work will be needed before 3D printed skin can be used to commonly treat humans. The clinical bioskin products currently available are more like a fancy Band-Aid. They do offer injured people some accelerated wound healing, but are designed to eventually fall off.
So the biggest issue with 3D printed skin right now is that it just doesn't really necessarily replace the tissue, right? It just helps the tissue heal more optimally. And that's kind of interesting because actually with skin grafts and things like that, the skin just helps the body heal well. It's not integrating into the body a lot of the time, right? They'll do pig skin grafts and things like that. And it's really just something that's put over the wound to help it heal. More like a super advanced Band-Aid, because God, I wish I was better at describing this, but a wound can heal significantly better in the right environment. A lot of growth factors get applied, and the wound can heal better in an optimal environment. A moist environment can actually help a wound heal significantly. And an environment where there's like this skin that's on top of this wound, that really seems to help a wound's ability to heal. So that's kind of what it's for right now, right? But that doesn't suit our purpose very well. Like, it's applied on top of a wound and it makes a wound heal really, really well. But we need to actually generate tissue, like a lot of tissue. So is what we need that to integrate with the body, not just help it heal. And to make it integrate with the body is challenging because there's a chance that the body's going to reject it. Actually, that's almost always going to happen unless some man, I need to work on my ability to explain this because it's really complex, and there's a lot of information to break down. But yeah, so right now there's a couple ways to generate tissue or create new tissue that can be transplanted on someone else. One is through decellurizing like an existing structure or an existing piece of tissue or something like that, meaning like stripping it of all of its cells down to just like a simple ECM or extracellular matrix that then you populate with new cells that can integrate into the other. Yeah, this is where my understanding of it gets kind of murky, and I'm still trying to figure this out myself. But there's another way through 3D bioprinting, and that's where you print the ECM with, well, you can, there's actually a lot of different ways to do 3D bioprinting, but one is you print the ECM and then populate that with or help the cells grow into the right type of tissue. And that happens with like specialized growth factors just for that type of tissue to coax those cells into the right type of tissue is what is one component of this that's really challenging, because it's not just regular skin as well. It's like a specialized type of mucosal membrane tissue. And it needs to have like just the right properties. It's a very sensitive type of tissue where it's easy to get wrong. It's easy to get that wrong because it's when you need to design this tissue for feeling, like it's a specialized sensory area. I don't know. It's a challenging tissue to regenerate, to be honest, from my optics and what I've kind of looked into. But I think it's definitely possible. And right now there's two ways to go about doing it. However, using the cadaver ECMs, like decellularized cadavers, essentially, right? Like for the foreskin, for example, this would have, if you wanted to go that route where you decellularize an existing cadaver, that I'm not sure you're going to really have the supply that you need to apply this to scale this for a lot of men. When you have to rely on cadaver body parts and things like that, it's difficult to scale. But it definitely could be realistic as well. And I think you could get a lot. So that is one direction you can go. Anyway, we'll watch the rest of this video here.
Rather than integrating with a patient's body, even more so, researchers from the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute believe that in order to make this process usable at a clinical level, they will also need to be able to edit the donor cells using something like CRISPR technology so that the blood vessels can integrate and be accepted by the CRISPR
technology. So do you see this here?
To be able to edit the donor cells using something like CRISPR technology so that the blood vessels can integrate and be accepted by the patient's body. In the future, 3D printed skin treatments would be completely tailor-made for individuals' bodies, drastically reducing complications and aesthetic concerns. Though 3D printed skin is far from replacing conventional skin grafting techniques, new developments and potential applications for 3D printed skin continue to give energy to this rapidly growing field of research. Bioprinters could eventually be used to save lives.
Okay, anyway, and that leads me to the last thing that I want to share here. Actually, let me go back over here. Oh, no, I can just go to Discord. It's not it. Okay. Okay, so this is a clinical trial going on right now that is being conducted by Wake Forest. Remember that regenerative medicine institute that we heard about in the video?
Hmm.
So right now, the United States Department of Defense is collaborating on this project with Wake Forest, and it's being funded through the Armed Forces Institute for Regeneration Medicine. So it's a sponsored trial by the Armed Forces Institute for Regenerative Medicine.
Do you know by chance what the amount of funding that is?
No, I don't.
I know they granted $10 million like 10 years ago when I first started getting interested in this stuff. And that was the amount they were given, but I don't know if that's been added to it all.
Yeah.
Curious if
so this was first posted in 2018, the interest
right, yeah,
in
but
this. Yeah.
they started a long
Right.
time before that.
I
actually.
gotcha.
Kind of
I gotcha. I know, but I don't think sorry. Yeah, you're right for sure. But I was saying that I don't think this was their initial initiative. Is kind of what I was saying there. Like this wasn't their first. This bioengineered penile tissue constructs for irreversibly damaged penile corpora.
I think it was. You thought
really?
it was something else? Yeah, they were trying to create erectile tissue.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely okay. Alrighty. Well, that's definitely what they're doing here. Yeah. So if we read the description here, damage to penile tissue due to infection, inflammation, or trauma often leads to structural deformity that may result in loss of sexual function that can profoundly affect quality of life. All right, so we'll keep going on. What is this tissue, right? The corpora cavernosa.
Yeah, that's, I believe, the spongy erectile tissue.
Yeah, but what does that really mean? The spongy erectile tissue? I mean, that's still not, I can't build a good mental model of this yet.
Yeah, sure. It's not the skin. It's like it's at least a layer in. Or is it the center? I don't know. Yeah, maybe I should probably know better myself. But
here it is, right here.
Yeah, no, it's like the.
So that what's interesting about that is that's not. Is that like the sensory, or is that, does it go? Because what's interesting is I think you can feel no sexual pleasure and still have an erection. Because that oftentimes happens to me. So I don't know what else to say there.
I'm not sure, but.
Yeah. But anyway, so it's this tissue in here. So that's for some serious damage, obviously. It would have to happen for that. So recently, the concept of a tissue engineering-based therapy has been proposed for reconstructing damaged penile corporal tissue. Anyway, here's what they look to do, though. So we read it more towards the end, and they say, so they're going to essentially take, what does this mean? Autologous corporal smooth muscle cells and corporal endothelial cells will be isolated and then seeded. So they're going to take cells. I want to understand what this means. This is pretty abstract to me right now, but I think I can figure this out. And then seeded on cadaveric decellularized corporal bodies. So they're going to get this from a cadaver, right? So like a dead, or I mean, that's not the best way to describe it. Like somebody that's died, they're going to take that structure off them and then decellularize it, like strip it of a lot of its cellular material. And then here, approximately 3 to 4 weeks later, the engineered construct, including corporal tissue with attached tunica, that's not how you say that, tunica? How would you pronounce that there, Jordan?
Tunica?
Yeah, with attached tunica, will be transplanted into the surgically prepared site of penile injury. So will be transplanted into the prepared site of prepared. So then they're going to follow them for 36 months. So yeah, they're essentially just going to recellularize a decellularized part of that, like a decellularized version of a cadaver. So the process is somebody dies, they remove this structure from that person. I think that's the only application of it, what a cadaver is essentially is it's taken from, it's some part taken from somebody that's died, so, or maybe not died in an unethical situation, or a kidney, or no, I mean, well, I don't know. I actually want to look that up. I'm going to look up cadaver.
Yeah, that's just someone who's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could also use a donated, but that would be a different name for it. They would just say donated then.
Yeah. So a corpse. Yeah. So it is. It is. It absolutely is. Yeah.
Because they would have to donate their whole penis for that to work. So
yeah. Well, yeah. It's not going to happen. Anyway, so yes, so this is going on right now. I honestly think this tissue might even be more difficult to regenerate, to be honest with you. So this is pretty promising. And yeah.
Right. Yeah. I guess this question is if it does regenerate nerves. I don't know the answer to that, actually. I'm not sure about the nerve properties of erectile tissue and whether or not we can achieve the same nerve function with foreskin. I think is still one of the biggest questions that we have, because and then obviously this also isn't 3D regenerated 3D printing, and that's still a big thing, I think, right? That's the other big question, is if we're going to do it on a mass scale, then we would have to 3D print it.
Right. You could do it on a much smaller scale with cadavers, though. It would be significantly smaller. But I think that's the thing is I don't know. Even with the cadavers, I think there's a big issue with getting this type of sensory tissue right for some reason. So, But anyway, that's what I wanted to share on that so far. I'm still kind of trying to work that all out myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, good points. I think that's definitely the big question, is how we're going to mass produce this, and if how difficult 3D printing is going to be, and I think there's a number of people working on that to try to figure it out. But yeah, it's the question of if there's enough and how long that's going to take being put into it. and then, and also how much it's going to cost to regenerate the foreskin, just period. Even if we use the cadaveric method with dead guys, you know,
Right.
I think, to me, still one of the main problems is like it just not being recognized by society really as a problem, and there being not the appearance of demand, at least, because for whatever reason, I guess guys aren't willing to talk about it, or maybe a lot of guys just don't know about it. But yeah, I think, you know, it's like I said, the initial funding amount for Wake Forest for that project, which is, I think, definitely probably more ambitious in a very real sense than Foragen's project to regenerate the foreskin. That project to regenerate the erectile tissue was funded with $10 million. I don't know if they've had more funding since then, but that was, I think, what they did a lot of the work with, was that just $10 million was all they needed for at least a large part of it. So, you know, I do think that funding someone like Foragen with $10 million or with something close to that is absurdly low.
Yeah.
If there was the awareness of it, that, you know, we're spending billions of dollars both in the U.S. and overseas, genitally mutilating people and children,
I think
and we're
creating
suffering immensely from it, and there's
Yeah.
not the awareness that, you know, we could easily help the people who are suffering an incredible amount. So I think just somehow getting that knowledge out there.
I think $10 million might be able to get you like this first stage MVP of this. I don't think that's something that can be commercialized or scaled in any way. The tissue is hard to get. There's like a chance that even as you're growing it, or populating cells onto the ECM, like that whole process has to be very carefully nurtured, and people, you know, it's difficult. A lot of things can go wrong. A lot of things do go wrong as you're doing it. It's hard to get that shit right. Even if, you know, you can pull all that off, it's not like you're creating a process where you can scale that up much. I mean, you certainly probably can figure out the complexities of it, but with more money down the line. So I think 10 million to like get some, and honestly, a lot of the times with these tissues, they're not like 100%, or the structures and things like that. That's why they're not, that's why we haven't seen all these new regenerated things, because they can mimic them pretty well, but it's just not a acceptable solution a lot of the time. So when we hear like, oh, they're regenerating a new heart or something like that, when you actually look into it, they're not able to use that.
Right, it's like a heart that can beat like 50 times per minute.
Yeah, it's not the properties are not the same. So
sleeping,
I think
maybe.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life.
And I think for this type of tissue too, it could, if it's like not right, it's really easy to know or something, like, because it's in your face type of tissue, where internal organs or even just skin, something like that. This is like, has to have very specialized properties for movement and sensory types of things. So if the properties of it are off, I think it might be a lot easier to be cognizant of that, because it's specifically for sensory types of responses. So I think that actually might potentially add to some of the complexity. Like maybe somebody, for example, a scenario, somebody gets transplanted in and it's just not sensitive at all. It really is just like not innervated tissue in any way, or it just doesn't, the sensation's off. It's like muted or numb or something. And that's not the end of the world, but it's not, that's not what a lot of people want either. So that's not what a lot of people are hoping for. You can get a similar, benefit from restoring right now. Like, a lot of people want their body in the original state that it should have been in. And I certainly don't need perfection myself, and I think other people are in the same place. But if it's like, you know, a really subpar solution, that would suck if we, you know, all of this. But I think it probably is going to be that in the very beginning, and then it's going to innovate, and it's going to improve and become more refined. But I don't think $10 million is going to get us to the finish line here. And I don't necessarily think 4gen is even saying that. They're saying, like, to get a proof of concept out there and get a good idea of how to actually pull this off. And then that's not going to help you figure out how to scale it. I don't think, and it's not going to help with the later state, getting it past that MVP stage. That's a difficult thing to do for sure. Requires a talented team of people right now, and there's a lot of, it's not like science that's set in stone either. There's a lot of unknowns that have to be figured out. Otherwise they'd have it. So otherwise they would have figured it out. So what's the holdup? That's a question I'm still trying to figure out myself, and it's partially answered for me. But it's not like if they had $10 million, this would be instantly figured out, or 4gen or any organization.
Yeah, no, it's I think that definitely, if 4gen could achieve that first step of regenerating a foreskin using cadaveric tissue, and even if it was like 50% or 70% or 90% or some percent, like what you'd want it to be, even if we didn't achieve what we're hoping to, which is 100% regeneration, I think that it would still be a major step forward, just proving that it is possible, which would give a lot of people a lot more hope, or that it's that what we're doing isn't completely like insane or something. And I think we are getting closer to that as we continue progressing with research. But yeah, you might be right that, I mean, you're definitely right, at least on the front that, like, it's not going to be a mass solution for millions of people who want this. I mean,
do even millions of people want it right now, though? Honestly, at this point in time, I don't even know if that's the case. Maybe hundreds of thousands would, opt in for this. I don't know how many people are actively, seeking out foreskin regeneration or foreskin restoration, or want to regenerate their foreskin in any way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah, I think there's well, I think it depends partly on the cost of how much it would be. I think there's definitely millions in the world who would want it, like period. Like, oh, if you're just gonna like give it to me for free and it's 100% successful and it's great, I think that would be very high. I think there would be at least, I know at least 10% of men are unhappy with it. So that would be, 100 million or more. But if it was like, oh, it's going to cost you $10,000, if it was say if it was still totally successful, but it was going to cost $10,000, then maybe it would only be 10% of those men, which would still be 10 million or so.
Right. Yeah.
So I think there are a large. I think it is actually quite large. And
how many would you estimate? I mean, it's hard to, obviously no one's going to hold you to this, but if, what would your estimate be? Mine would be, wow, I'm just working off no data and no real understanding of this, but 300,000 men, that's my estimate, would be interested in this at the moment right now, if you ask them.
If you're willing, if they had to pay $10,000 for it?
No, it was free even. It was free.
Really? No, I would say it's 10 million. I'd say that's probably the accurate statistic.
Okay. I want to
I'd say
understand that better.
because that's 1% of men. Or sorry, it would be 100 million. That's just 10, and that's hard to say for sure. I don't know if it's been measured in the Islamic world, so actually that's pretty hard to say. If that was, I'll just say in the United States, it would be 10 million. Because I mean, we already know that there have been studies that have asked, what percent of men are unhappy with being circumcised and would rather not have been, and it's about 10%. So 10% of 100 million would be 10 million. I'm just going off of flat statistics that I'm aware
Right.
exist.
I hear what you're saying. I'd want to understand that study better. I'd say the majority of people that are circumcised, I'd say like 90. God, man, it feels like the mass majority, like 99% or more percent of men this is not on their radar. Like maybe they're like circumcision is wrong, but it's just not traumatizing them, and they want this part of their body back. But maybe that is the case, and I'm not necessarily aware. But you'd think that more people would have been speaking out by now if that was the case. If 10 million men in America were like serious about that and wanting their foreskin back, like they might be, I'm if I should have had the choice, or maybe not even that far, just like, I wish I had the choice, or, I'm glad it's happened to me now, but I wish I had the choice. I don't know. I don't necessarily, I'm curious to actually understand that. But at this point in time right now, I just don't think there's that level of awareness on this to the point that they'd want foreskin regeneration. But maybe that's the truth. 300,000 seems pretty low now that I think about it, but I don't even know that many. Like, you see the foreskin restoration subreddit, like the premier place right now to get information on that, pretty much. And it only has like 17,000 members. So to me, there's probably a lot more people that are interested in that, but that's a decent indication of potentially, if there were 10 million people interested in this, there would probably be a lot more people in that subreddit, and we'd know a lot more people in the community.
I don't know if that's true. I think the vast majority of people would just, look in, find out about it, and then they would go and buy a restoration device and do that privately. I don't think most of them would join the subreddit and be like participating every day. I haven't, and I don't know. I don't think most people would, but yeah. I mean, I don't. To be clear, like I don't think these are people who are like severely like impacted by it and like thinking about it every day and like are like, and are just like hate the fact more than anything that they were circumcised. I think these are people who are are relatively passive about it. They're like, oh yeah, I don't know, it was probably bad, and I would have rather not had it happen. But you know what? I'm just not gonna waste any time thinking about it because it's already done. So whatever. But I think they would still, if they had the choice, they'd say, oh yeah, I'll take it back if if there's no conflict whatsoever about getting it back, then sure. Like, I think, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, just from from the stats that I've read, I think it's only a very small percent who are like serious enough about it that they would do something. I mean, also, I think there's a very small amount of people who actually take action on anything that they care about if it's a lot of work, which this is. And there's little payoff, or even if you restore, it's not fully getting you back everything you want, and you have to do a pretty massive amount of work. And yet there's still something 100,000 men, maybe a couple 100,000 men or so, who are doing restoration, by the estimates that I've heard. So, I think the number would be much higher if they didn't have to do any work for it. But yeah, it's hard to know exactly for sure. Just my guess.
Yeah, I have no idea. So, kind of a lot of things that I say, it's a lot of speculation a lot of the time, but I guess, yeah. You only have so much data you can work off of, but everything has led me to believe that there's significantly less people than 10 million in the United States that are, you know, and I know you weren't saying this, but traumatized by this, right? And are like,
I suspect that's more between 1,000, 100,000 to 1 million, which is still, I think, higher than you think it is.
right?
But
Yeah.
and most people also don't talk about that at all, especially in that case when they're severely traumatized. I think in the sense that makes them less likely to talk about it if they're extremely severely traumatized. Because
I think the United States
can't.
probably has the highest concentration of people that are traumatized by it as well.
Definitely. Yeah. Although I'm sure Africa's pretty bad too now that, and anywhere that it's done in like childhood, I can't imagine it not being pretty serious for some Islamic countries where it's like done in childhood. I feel like that would.
I think they're traumatized, but they're not. They're like really conditioned to accept it and severely conditioned to accept it. And most people fall in line, where we're a little more
individualistic.
Yeah, and we're able to figure this out and migrate away from the cultural kind of binding that exists. But I don't know. I want to figure out how many people. I want to understand those metrics and those analytics really well, really intimately. And I have nothing. I can only go off pure speculation in my mind. So, but I think that demand, I mean, upon like the successful, even news leading up to the success of this would lead to people. What's interesting, I guess, to get to the gist of this is that if this procedure existed and came out, it would also end infant circumcision, and it would also expose this for what it is, this whole thing for what it is. Which is interesting. If they saw that, oh, there's men that are so, you know, they feel such a loss that are transplanting, they're regenerating this organ on their body. They're seeking that out and they're getting that done. That would really highlight the value of the tissue that's completely not understood among the American public. It's like they've lost an understanding of the anatomy completely. They don't understand what the prepuce is. They don't understand what the frenulum is. They don't understand the properties of the tissue. They don't understand the function of the tissue in any way. That's really important to quantify the harm right now, because we say it's a lack of consent, and a lot of us talk about the consent component of this, but the reason we feel violated is because of an anatomical loss and a physical loss and a sexual loss. And so when the opposition is able to trivialize this as an extra piece of skin, then the consent really doesn't matter. They consider it, you know, a loose piece of tissue that, if removed, can have some potential medical benefits. That's completely different than how we're quantifying this and our perspective on this, which is, you know, we had specialized genital structures violently excised from our penis as a fragile neonate. As a fragile infant, somebody strapped us down and literally ablated with a scalpel and a device like a Gomco clamp, like cut around our genital structures and excised important tissues from us, specialized tissues from us. That's not what people think of this as, though. When we say circumcision, they don't have that mental model at all of what it is and what the tissue is. So I think that's a really important part of advocacy for anything that's being done in this, whether it's advocacy for tissue regeneration or just, you know, investment in that. The public has to be aware of what it is that we're removing. That's just not commonly understood.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a great point. And it's kind of crazy that no one is aware of that. It's something that's hard too. I notice even earlier in this discussion before we started, I think I started to talk about that, and then I was just like so tired I like couldn't even like launch into it, because it's one of the most difficult parts to talk about in terms of trauma for me is like just to like explain how shitty this is. Like it's easier for me to talk about like you know, like, oh yeah, we need to build communities and we need to do more, create more media, and we need to do healing work, and we need to figure out how to regenerate this, etc. Rather than, yeah, I was harmed by this and they you know, strapped me down as a baby and violently, extremely violently excised the most sensitive and
Yeah.
extremely functional tissue on my penis that has these certain specific functions.
Yeah.
And this is how it's affected me. Like
we need to perfect that argument, and I'm looking to refine it. I'm looking to really hit home. There's a way to present this where you can communicate that very effectively, and yeah, I'm looking to evolve that discussion for sure. So, and why I bring that up is, unfortunately, I can't share anything that I'm putting together for that because it's illustrations of penises. So obviously that's not acceptable to be shared on Facebook or YouTube in a live stream, probably. But I think something that could be very important is providing models to the public. And I think it's a lot more palatable when it's like an illustration versus an actual image of somebody's penis. However, I'm looking actually to get both, but I want to put together some resources, probably web pages on a website that have anatomical models that show what is being removed very, very clearly, right? Like honing in on the structures and highlighting the quantity of tissue, because particularly in an infant circumcision, when you look at the structures on there, they're like different than what an adult's structures look like in some ways. One is the shaft just isn't very big, and the glands are like as big as the shaft almost on an infant. And the foreskin it like cocoons way above the penis. And so the thing is on an infant, like if you were to cut the glands or the foreskin down to the glands, it's a ton of tissue. Like when the glands is this big and the shaft is this big, and then the prepuce goes like all the way up here, right? On an infant, if they cut down to the glands, they're removing like the entire mucosal membrane, sleeve, and skin. Like, and then when the penis gets erect, it like stretches out any of the remaining mucosal tissue that's left if they get circumcised down to the glands. So it's just like there's a tiny little bit left, and it like stretches out to meet the demand of the growing penis. And it's like a majority quantity, 60%, right, of the mucosal memory tissue or more. It's like a ton of the erogenous tissue, a majority percentage of the erogenous tissue. And it's that classic like high and tight type of circumcision. And so that's what I want to highlight, is that's what's happening to a lot of American infants. I think that's changing, and we can actually see that now with this here, loose. Am I still sharing my screen?
No.
Okay, can you move back to it? Okay. So this is for different circumcision style. Sorry, let me jump at the front. This is an article highlighting different circumcision, quote unquote, styles for infants, infant circumcision styles, essentially, from Healthline Parenthood. So loose circumcision style versus other methods. I don't really know what they mean by that, but what is a loose circumcision style? circumcision is standard procedure to remove the foreskin from the head of the penis. There are different ways it can be done in adults, but in infants, the only choice may be how much foreskin to leave and how loose or freely it can move on the shaft of the penis. So they're talking about it here.
Mm-hmm.
The style of our tissue ablation on our penis, depends on their personal preference and experience with the procedure or what you may request. So parents are requesting different penile tissue removal services for their son. So a loose circumcision style remove less foreskin, leaving more of it room to move on the penis. A tighter circumcision style removes more foreskin, leaving the skin tighter on the shaft. They even admit here, this decision may be fairly easy to make when performing a circumcision on an older boy or adult man. For infant circumcision, the judgment can be more difficult. While the doctor may plan to make the circumcision looser or tighter, this whole thing is like extremely dehumanizing that we're reading right now. And we should be aware of that this article is, it's humiliating and dehumanizing us right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then comment on that in the future. Like this type of media that we read, it caused terror for us. And it's a disgusting thing. To highlight it, that's like an important component of the harm, I think, when you read things like this.
Right, that someone is actually choosing for you what your sexual experience will be for the rest of your life. And then, it's not even really possible to do that fully on an infant because, they're so young that you're operating on a child and you don't actually know what their penis is going to be like when they get older.
Right. But anyway,
so
why I brought this up originally, is because a lot of infants in the past who were cut with the Gomco clamp, I mean, that is notorious for high and tight circumcisions. I don't necessarily know why that is the case, but it is based on what I've heard and understand. But so I think nowadays it's a lot more common to have a loose circumcision than it was in the past, like leaving somebody at like a CI3 or CI4, right? When they get cut. Versus the lower CI ranges. So if you're left at a CI4, right, that's not, I mean, it's still, that's absolutely not what I want, but that's a completely different situation than somebody at the lower end of the scale.
Right, yeah. Not many people are aware of that, but it definitely, there's a very high rate of people who have very tight circumcisions who are really upset about it in the Intactivist community. And I think there is some awareness of that among doctors. I don't know how exactly, but it seems like there's been a leaning toward not cutting men or babies as tight as they used to, which is progress, I suppose. I have heard that. I don't know how universal it is.
Choosing a circumcision. It's just like the decision to circumcise or not. It comes down to your personal preference and beliefs.
That's a bizarre statement.
Oh my God. Dude.
Deciding how much of your penis your son gets to keep, it comes down to your personal preferences.
Oh my
About what?
goodness.
Your personal, are you going to be having sex with your son? And so your personal preferences for how much pleasure he gets to experience or how much pain he's experiencing is important in that experience for you, or your beliefs about how much penis your son should have? I don't know. I don't fully understand that statement.
It's pretty difficult. Yeah. I mean, this is fucking terrible, to be honest with you. This is, This is a disaster. For it's a nightmare scenario. It causes me deep pain regularly with how this is treated. Not, the trauma, the physical trauma is terrible, and then how it's treated, though, belittled and trivialized and just rationalized, and how so many people in the media and in authoritative positions are justifying this and condoning it, when it has such an impact on our lives. And we really do need to get that story out there better and more effectively. And it absolutely is on us at that point to communicate the harm effectively. What's really unfortunate in this situation is there's a lot of men who are insistent that it didn't harm them and offended almost if you even say you're harmed, or will try to belittle, right? And so that makes it difficult for people who are intact or women to really understand, it's like, what's going on here? Why do some men, this is awesome for them and they really want this, and other men are like, this mutilated me? And right now the majority of men are like, the overwhelming majority of men are like, this, I'm so glad I was circumcised, in this country at least.
Right. Yeah, I think the basic point of discussion that needs to reach general awareness around this is that is the understanding that, at least in some men, they are extremely upset about it, and therefore it's important to leave it to an adult to decide, because adults can decide whatever they want, but most adults actually won't choose to get circumcised, first of all. And second of all, if they do decide, then that's fine. Like, anyone can choose to do that, but you can't choose to go backwards. That's the like simple piece of logic that if everyone understood it, it would almost be like everything else becomes a moot point.
Well,
you have to have some understanding that like there's actually a reason that you're upset about it too. But even if you just understand that some men are extremely, extremely upset about it to the extent that we are, if people have a conception of that, then it almost doesn't matter why we're upset about it. It's just knowing that, and then knowing that you can easily prevent that.
I think you do need to frame it, though. It can't just be for totally nonsensical reasons why you're upset. We're upset because this is sensory tissue. We need to be able to break that down, but we're upset because this is a type of uniquely erotic sensory tissue. It has a lot of value because of that reason for us. It's a functional piece of tissue in that it moves up and down the shaft and the glands, and that's like a stimulatory function, right? And that's an important stimulatory function for the penis. And that is lost when you, to some degree, potentially completely. If you're left with enough of a high and tight circumcision, if you're at that CI1 level, there's really no movement when your penis is erect. So that whole movement is lost, and that's where a lot of the stimulation comes from, actually, is the stretching of mucosal tissue on the inner foreskin up and above the glands. That's where like a huge amount of the sensation comes from for an intact man. Anyway, though, yeah, so that's kind of stimulatory functional process. It's not going to necessarily prevent you from ejaculating. It could in certain instances. So it's not like totally detrimental to the ejaculatory process, but the sensory experience is, in my opinion, severely compromised without that stimulatory effect. And I think that's a pretty good breakdown of like you shouldn't be surprised why I would be upset by this. It's removing something significant in the stimulation it's just destroying that structure, and then that stimulatory mechanism is now gone for me, and that's a significant functional loss, just in that right alone, even if it wasn't sensory tissue, but it's also highly innervated. And then when you start talking about the frenulum, it's a separate specialized structure. It has unique properties than even the rest of the genital membrane tissue, the genital mucosal membrane tissue. And so that's lost to some degree in a lot of us, partially or fully. That structure is removed. And then the ridged band, which is, a specialized part of the prepuce, right? It's like we typically think of it just as the prep use, but it's a separate structure on the prep use. Anyway.
Right. Yeah, we should have a fact sheet or something. I feel like I'm sure there's multiple.
We need like videos, right? 3D model videos, like showing these different components.
Yeah, that would be useful.
Otherwise, even most people that are interested in foreskin regeneration and things like that, it's still difficult to understand what this is. It requires a lot of research to, if you were circumcised as an infant, to actually understand what it is you want back. Even it's hard to do. There's something wrong a lot of the time. That it should be covered, right? But what it is we're actually trying to do, what this tissue is, what the properties are, building that mental model of what that is even difficult for us that are interested in it.
Right, that's a good point. That it's easy for someone like me to actually forget the curse of knowledge, they call it, because I forget that someone who knows nothing about this, or even knows a little bit or a medium amount about it. It's like I've done many hundreds of hours,
right,
or thousands of hours of research. And it's not all in one place. It's reading hundreds of different stories, of different anatomical studies, of watching hundreds of hours worth of foreskin-centric pornography, and a lot of things to actually really create that mental model, and all of the different parts of it. There's actually, you named a few of the things. There's another dozen or so more, such as the moisture of the glands and how that affects the glands callousing over and drying out, and desensitization, and there's at least a couple dozen things of erotic sensations that you don't experience anymore, and levels of sensitivity, and pressure, temperature, sensation, different erotic things that you can't do, that are just like fun things or erotic things, and that your partner can do to you. There's actually there's quite a lot. It would take a while to break down all of it. But yeah, and I think having videos of it too is like totally critical to actually explain all of it. And so that's part of the challenge with explaining this to the public, is that's insanely difficult to actually do in a universal way that reaches everyone, because people just don't care. And so most people aren't willing to sit down and watch, even if we had the ideal thing, they wouldn't be willing to sit down and watch a half an hour or hour long video on all the details of foreskin. Most people wouldn't want to watch that. And there's no way to force them to.
I think we can start getting some viral content out there. We need a good content creation team. Eventually that would come along. It's inevitable with Intactivism. That's totally missing that right now. Regular viral or not necessarily viral content, but I can't even necessarily explain it, but a content creation team that can create content that breaks down anatomically. So that would require a way to graphics. It would require a lot of illustration and graphics to break that down. So that's specifically, I think, what's going to need to happen in order to, how else do you build a mental model anatomically? You have to see. That's the only way. A lot of people are operating from no understanding when they talk about this. That's actually, I think, the real problem here.
Right.
Is there's just no understanding of what this is and what value it has. So, and the only way I think that can be communicated is with illustrations and anatomical models. That unless somebody else has a better suggestion, I'd love to hear it, but that's the only way I learned. So really it was from real images of penises. So
yeah, I think it can be both, and different people learn through different ways too. Having a verbal explanation of it can also be really helpful, because there's certain things that it's actually hard to fully understand through watching a video of it. For me, at least, like I have to like someone's experience of it, just because I'm seeing how the skin is like moving or what it looks like. I might not actually be able to cognize like, oh, that has a lot of sensation because there's a lot of nerve endings in it, and it makes them feel a certain way, as well as just psychological elements of it too. I think. I don't know. I think it's both visual and verbal would be important for me. But yeah, I think creating something like that is super important. And it is important that distribution of it, I don't know if that's the right word, but the virality of it or how it reaches people, because you can create good content and not have any effect if it doesn't reach anyone. So that's super important to consider. And I certainly have thought about that actually a lot and have ideas of how you could reach a lot more people. But yeah, it is a lot of work to create sort of rock star content like that. Either just time and effort or resources.
It's like a team effort, I think, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you need like multiple people who specialize video editing, the person who's actually speaking, maybe someone else who's speaking, good equipment, right? Good sound equipment, and then somebody who can create graphics and animations and put, cut away to other types of content effectively that can demonstrate your point, things like that. Finding good sources. Yeah, there's just a lot of work that goes into it. It's a full-time job.
Good
Is what it is.
Good writers for any verbal
Yeah.
content, good
Yeah.
voice actors who can speak it in a way that's entertaining or at least clear and
Yeah.
compelling.
It's a challenge for sure. But one thing that I really am actively pursuing is getting some illustrations of circumcised penises made that can be shared on social media. That so maybe not too detailed, but just a good way to highlight the anatomical loss. Like I see sometimes people trying to share resources on Facebook, and I'm like, they're really kind of low grade exam. They're not great a lot of the time. They don't look legit in any way, right? When they're trying to highlight the anatomical loss, they just don't feel compelling. And I think that's one area that could really add a lot of value. It is a way to communicate the anatomical loss just in your face, just like, look, this is what it is. This is what is being removed. So that's why it's impacted us. And if you can't understand at that point, I think there's still going to be people that can't, but I think there's a lot of people that will.
Sure, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's the final point is then, if you have something, either if it goes viral, if there's someone to achieve that, that's great. But otherwise, getting people to share it and just like getting the Intactivist community of people aware that there's good resources and get them all using it in an effective way. I guess that's another step that I'm definitely interested in. It's like how to have Intactivists understand how to be effective. I think a lot of them are, doing their best, but they might not necessarily, I've heard like when I did my Intact community, the first discussion we had, a lot of things that people were requesting was like, hey, we should have more information about messaging and how to like discuss this with our friends and family because we don't know how to do that. And it's like, I think that's a basic problem for the millions of men who are upset about this already. They just like don't know how to talk about it, so they just don't. It's just like, oh yeah, this seems horrible, and I wish it hadn't happened, but at the same time, I don't know what to do about it, and I don't even know how to talk to anyone about it. So I'm just gonna ignore it and not think about it as best I can. So that's not good. If those people just knew how to do this more effectively, I think that would be a big step forward. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on the same page. Well, I'm probably going to wrap things up here. How long have we been talking for?
A couple hours. I don't know what time did you come on? 1:30, I think. So
Yeah, 1:30, an hour and a half. Yeah.
40.
Yeah, I'm pretty exhausted right now.
Yeah.
So
I gotta go do a bunch of shit. So.
Was this just streamed on YouTube, or was it streamed on Facebook too?
I guess just YouTube. I don't know what happened. I was thinking maybe David Johnson disabled the account that I was streaming from. Maybe.
Johnson. Never trust that guy.
Bitch. No, he's great. Unfortunately, I don't know if it was burnout or what, but he wasn't able to keep hosting. But he did let me keep using his account, fortunately. But now I think I can use mine again because it's been 3 months since he accidentally talked about suicide on my account, which apparently you can't do. His friend committed suicide, so it wasn't like he was like. I don't think he was saying he was suicidal or anything. I don't know what happened. I didn't actually watch the video, but I guess you can't talk about suicide at all. So I shouldn't be saying it right now, but I'm. Don't commit suicide is what I'm saying.
That's interesting. Yeah. I actually did not know that. So even if you're talking about it in relation to somebody else, it's grounds for your account to get temporarily banned?
I think so, yeah. I mean, as I said, I didn't see the video. I didn't go back and watch it.
Right.
I think that was the context he's talked about it before, and is that his friend, that's how he got introduced to the topic.
Right.
Was his friend talked to him about it, and then eventually did commit suicide due to it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So yeah, it's I don't know. I guess that's just big tech censorship these days is getting pretty horrible. I used to really support big tech and think like it was great, but then ever since the whole censorship thing's gotten bad, I'm like, fuck big tech. I hope they get broken up and sued and destroyed and obliterated because they're fucking pieces of shit.
Wow, that's some strong statements. Yeah,
I mean, what I can post.
What? Yeah,
I don't approve of violating freedom of speech. I mean, they control the platforms completely, right?
Yeah.
YouTube,
the issue is just the platforms are so big. The platforms are total monopolies.
It is a monopoly.
Yeah.
YouTube is a monopoly. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but I am.
Right.
YouTube is a monopoly, and they will they will ban you for saying something, and then you basically can't say it because you can't say it on the platform that actually matters. Which is
and then YouTube. That other platform got shut down. What was it called again? Parler. Yeah. Their servers got shut down. They were hosting on AWS, Amazon Web Services. And like they built their whole platform, their whole website application, and all their web application infrastructure was built on AWS. And then they just kind of pulled all of that from them.
Yeah.
And they found, I think, another place to host, but it's been, they got destroyed by that. But anyway, I mean, that's not, I don't even want to get into that necessarily, but I'm saying like, and what happened is there was a lot of censorship, and then it was interesting because then they, canceled, quote unquote, that company or that social media platform because a lot of conservatives were going. There was a lot of questionable things going on there, certainly, but there's a lot of questionable things going on all social media platforms. And Amazon was like, just this one is it was interesting. So I will say that it's like they can assassinate rivals pretty easily. Just by saying, because they control like big tech as a whole can, what am I trying? Police. They can police their ecosystem, and the government can't really do anything within that ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they don't like someone, when they all agree, it's like a network. It's like it's really loose, but it's like their own kind of bubble. When they don't like a challenger, or they don't like a company, bam, they'll take him out. If they all don't like him, then they'll take him out.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's it's a problem. It's somewhat separate from what we're doing, not totally, because it does definitely. It's one of the major problems that we face is censorship. You just can't share sexual content on any of the major platforms.
Right.
Yeah, I guess Google is a little bit of an exception to a degree, but not totally, because it still limits it to a degree. It still like restricts it in a way. It's kind of siphoned off from the rest of the site, and it doesn't have the same. They don't put the same amount of money into it and work into it, so it doesn't have the same resources going to it. Sexual content is kind of like a minor thing, I think. I don't know a lot about that, but on Amazon and Facebook and Google, and YouTube, you just can't really share any sexual content, so it's just totally repressed. So we're like trying to like share this thing. It's like, oh yeah, you have to create your own entire thing to like try to make it look sexual, but not totally, so that you can actually get it to work. And you can't share any videos of this happening to children, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, those are on YouTube, but
yes, somewhat. I've had mine banned, and I have a strike on my account now
for sharing stuff,
for making a playlist of other people's videos of circumcisions.
Shit.
Yeah, so I can't do that anymore because I will get my account banned. I already have to be careful now of what I post and say. So it sucks, dude. It's really bad. Especially for sexual stuff, just in general.
But I have seen some there are educational videos on there, actually, of like breakdowns of anatomy or surgical procedures on genitalia, and like anatomical breakdowns of genitalia that are on there for educational purposes. And I think we can get something on there similar. I'm honestly at one point thinking of like, God, I don't even believe necessarily I'll ever do this, actually. But like, I just want to compare my penis to an intact person's penis on video and like do a breakdown and say, look, this is what was removed from me. I'm not kidding. Is that not the best way to actually explain what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know. Or hire some two people that want to do this, or that would be interested in getting paid to do this. And you're just like looking at it, you're showing like the loss of stimulation and stimulatory tissue and things like that. And just highlighting what's going on and putting that on YouTube and not making it sexual at all. It's like purely educational, just strictly right to the point. Okay, this is what's on this person's penis. This is what is not on this person's, and highlighting the structures like the prepuce, the frenulum, ridge band, on the intact model or penis, and then comparing that to one that's circumcised, and then showing the loss of functional stimulation as well. And so I honestly think would be a very effective way to communicate the harm.
Yeah, I think you could definitely do that, and you could also do it on Pornhub. Is the one place that you can do anything, basically, because and the thing with Pornhub too is you actually get incredible reach. If you post videos on there, you get a lot bigger reach. I created a Pornhub account a few months ago.
Okay.
And I actually have as many subscribers almost as or maybe half as many subscribers as I have on YouTube.
Really? Have you posted any videos yet? Have you? Yeah.
A couple.
Okay, really? I didn't know.
Yeah.
What are they of? I mean, what's going on in those videos?
Just me.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, but the point is, all my videos have like at least 1,000 views. That's like 5 times as much as my average video on my other channel after making 150 videos. So
right, and OnlyFans too. That's a good platform.
I haven't used OnlyFans, but yeah.
Yeah. No, for this type of shit, there's a lot of people that pay a lot of money. Not at all. I mean, can you imagine paying money for this type of content, but
yeah.
it's so fucking morbid. But there are people, I honestly think there are. I mean, obviously the 7 people I think that I see that are watching this, there is some audience for it, but
yeah, we could get Brian Morris probably. I bet he'd like to watch it.
Brian Lawrence.
Yeah, he's probably one of my top. I'm sure he's totally jacking off to this right now.
What? Are you serious? I mean, who's Brian Lawrence?
I don't know. Never heard of him.
Okay, shit. I'm got confused by that. But
Brian Morris, the pro circumcision guy.
Oh, I thought you kept saying Brian Lawrence. Brian Morris. Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. Brian Morris. Yes. Oh god. Jacking off to this right now. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past him. There's something really up with that guy. I'm gonna. I need to wrap this up in a minute here, but Brian Morris. That's well, he has a website. Brian Morris website. Brian Morris. What is his profession again? Biologist or something?
Yeah. He does
molecular medical sciences.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to have his own personal website. And he had this really interesting, oh, what the fuck? He has a website, circinfo.net. Oh, here it is too. Wow, I'm going to share my screen one last time.
Okay.
He keeps messaging me. Some guy, Mark, might be in this call or this stream here.
I don't know. I can't see the chat. I had it on full screen, in which case I can't see the chat. But then when I reopen the screen, the chat is all gone, so I can't see any of the.
Yeah, that's happened to me too now. Yeah. Okay, this image of Brian Morris on his website, circinfo.net. Let me check Brian Morris down here. Look how he has to say this too. It's so important. Finally, I am a happily married, circumcised, heterosexual male with children. But then look at this. He's so obsessed with this shit, dude. Look at him here. He's pretty young in here, but Brian Morris, people from Kenya dressed in traditional dress worn for their initiation in manhood. So he went to like circumcision ceremonies. This razor blade used is worn as a pendant around their neck. He's so obsessed with this shit, dude. Such a weird fucking guy.
That's pretty.
There's a lot of people who are like total circumsexuals on this shit. And if you go to, oh, well, I don't actually know if I can go there or not. I don't want your stream to get banned. Right. But maybe it's here. Which probably it doesn't show.
Do you want me to unshare it so you can?
No, I think it's good. I don't think it's going to show images and okay, yeah, definitely. I'm just going to go out of here. How do you block the images so it doesn't show up? All right. Anyway, yeah, I don't think I can share my screen and show that. But anyway, there's this site here. How many people are? Yeah, there's 807 members in here. It's even worse on Twitter though. Actually, with I can't remember what it's called, like Circumcision Perfection or something. That's the account. It has like 17,000 followers on it, and it's this sick circumsexual site, just absolutely vile and disgusting. The shit that they post, you seriously can't believe. It's like Johnny just rode the circumstrain, and it shows a guy with a circumcised penis, and they're like commenting on the loss of erogenous tissue and things like that. Like Johnny rode the circumstrain, just the most fucking disturbing shit you've ever read, and has 17,000 followers. Like who are these people?
Right.
And how many of these people, are out there that are turned on by circumcision, and not just a circumcised penis, but like the circumcision process as well. Yeah. So interesting for sure.
Yeah,
It's
good
Brian Morris, one of those
question.
people. That's why I brought that up. He seems to be absurdly interested in it.
Right. It seems quite possible. It seems quite possible. You know, where you would get that motivation from is hard to imagine.
Right.
And there definitely are people like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing that I haven't looked into as much. But I mean, I know I've heard from people who are sexually turned on by circumcision, even people who are victims too, who actually like try to get pleasure out of it so that they can like feel better about it because they feel violated by it. So that's like watching circumcision videos
Yeah.
like for sexual pleasure, or there's different pornographic stories about
Yeah.
little boys usually getting genitally mutilated. And
Yeah. It's this whole circumsexual community, and it's extremely disturbing. I'm surprised that's not being discussed more. I mean, they're openly, and they even talk about infant circumcision.
mm-hmm.
We're just totally fucking up. Nobody gives a shit in society at all about this. And it's so extreme, the level of care that's not being applied here. And this is like, these are people that have like this strong, like even it's like it's a pedophilia type of situation here where it's the infant part that also they're interested in. There's a significant amount of those people when you read their comments and shit on these social media sites. You know, that needs to be explored by the federal government. And this is like a major issue in our country where there's a significant amount of people posting online about fantasizing over infant circumcision. So it's like open pedophilia. It feels like these things should be really getting explored, and we should be identifying who these people are. Because I seriously do think they're a threat in some way. If you're having these types of thoughts, that's just really disturbing and unsettling.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and two, if it's true that someone like Brian Morris is experiencing that, which is quite possible,
It really
like
is.
like just a few
Really is.
months ago, he literally got the bridged ban removed from Wikipedia. He just like called them up and was like, "Hey guys, this is pseudoscience. It's not real. Remove this from Wikipedia," and he succeeded. Like that's pretty.
So really, his edit history was checked, and he like, how did you guys find that out? Or?
I don't know. I can't remember who said that. I think it was someone in maybe one of the 4gen meetings, or I don't know if it was that. It's either that or iChasm, the bodyguards.
You know what I think would be really cool, and I would love if you could give this feedback to 4gen, is if they could hold like community meetings where people could come and ask questions.
They have those for supporters. I think it's one of the perks for like supporters who are actually no, they have it for both. There's a Discord and there's a Telegram meeting. So for supporters who donate $5 a month, or for those who are doing like $100 a month or more, I think that's just so that people who like are just completely trolling aren't going to come in and like ask terrible questions. So I kind of think that's probably fair actually, but yeah, there's that option.
Is that going on right now? Is they have like, or you just ask a question in there and somebody might answer it, or is there like specific times held? Or
yeah, it's a donor rewards program, and people who come in and ask the question on the live call each month, or is it each month? I don't know if it's each month or once every 3 months or something. I don't remember, but yeah, there's a live call that we do, and then there's also the Discord where if people come in and ask questions, we will answer their questions there usually, if they ask it of a moderator at least. Or I also answer people's questions on this website if they reach out through the website. I answer them through email.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to wrap things up here in a minute, but down to touch on maybe a few more things.
Oh, I guess it was hi hi ha ha lol, which is Omar, right? Omar, is that you? I think that's Omar, Omar Kumar is Foragen's Arabic translator. So he's the one who I heard the thing that I just said from.
Oh, he said, shh.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't supposed to say his name because he's in a country where he'll be assassinated.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, I guess that's where I found out whatever we were just discussing, which I already forgot.
Okay.
My brain's also burned to shit from trauma. As I think we've discussed before. Doesn't function normally.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I need to go and I need to go work as well.
All right, man. Hey, well, it was good talking with you as always. Looking forward to next week. I almost want to go through one last time the PEPFAR spending because I now see that there's 7 people here. Can we see the? No, we can't really see the people. I'm going to share my screen one more time, just really quickly. I know you got to go, but the PEPFAR spending.
Most of the people who watch this actually watch it afterwards anyways. There's like 100-something people who usually...
Oh, interesting.
A couple hundred people eventually. But...
Okay, so... So here's a breakdown of how much PEPFAR has spent on circumcision in every country that they have an initiative in since they were conceptualized in 2009, or since PEPFAR came to be in 2009. I'm not sure if that's when they, initially, if that was created or if they just started funding circumcisions in 2009. But anyway, here's the breakdown for each country and then for each year. So the columns are the year, the rows are the countries here. And anyway, when you calculate all this up, and one country to particularly take note of is South Africa. Starting in 2012, we started spending serious money here. 76 million this year, or in that year. 36 million the next year, then 29, then 34, then 17, then 26, and then again in 2019, or 18, no, 19, it was $77 million. When we calculate all these rows up or all these cells up, what we get is 1,826,000,000. So obviously that's an insane number.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And then I'm not sure if Greg just joined as well, but Greg, or if even Greg's still here, but I was showing a clinical trial that's being funded by the Armed Forces Institute for Regeneration Medicine. It's being collaborated on with the United States Department of Defense, the DoD, and then also it's being conducted by Wake Forest. It says sponsor here, but yeah, what it means is that Wake Forest is conducting it. And it's for the regeneration of the penile corpora tissue, or it's not, I guess, I don't know if you really call that tissue, but the constructs, I don't know, Anyway, when we looked at that earlier, it was, what was that? Or it was like inside of the shaft. That's a terrible way to say it, but we saw, I hope this doesn't violate, I don't think it will, but in here, right? So this tissue, right here, that's the corpora cavernosa. And so what we see here is that the government is funding regenerative medicine already, right? The federal government is funding regenerative medicine. And we're spending, so first of all, we're spending billions of dollars on circumcising Africans right now. I'm not going to get into that again on how unethical it is, how wrong that is. But what we're saying is, once people understand that this is wrong, on a more widespread scale, we can spend money circumcising Africans, but we can't spend money on regenerative medicine for victims of an atrocity. That's an argument that I think can be made very effectively. Is, look, we've spent all this money doing something completely unethical, and everyone was fine with that, but we can't spend money then it comes to actually healing people who have been impacted by these decisions, or this promotion, this wanton disregard for our anatomy. It's been promoted in the United States. We can't fund that. The healing for the people who have been impacted by this, that just doesn't make any sense, guys. That's we can't keep getting walked all over like this. But anyway, it's the erectile tissue of the penis. But we see it. One thing to say though, whoever this guy is, hi, ha, 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 lol. One thing I've noticed is that when you just say erectile tissue, no one understands what that means. So if you were just to explain this to somebody and we're like, oh yeah, the cavernosa is the erectile tissue, they won't know what you're talking about. So something to keep in mind. I noticed that when I first read that, I had no idea what that meant. And so it almost, you really almost need just a model to show what that is. Otherwise, it's difficult to correlate just erectile tissue with that inner construct, like inside of the organ there. Mm-hmm. And there it is. Yeah, it's almost like it looks, from this model, it looks really interesting in there too. But yeah, the erectile tissue. Is it called that because it can induce an erection?
Right, because it's spongy, and when the blood flows to
it fills up. Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes hard.
So not necessarily that it can induce an erection, but it creates the erection. It is the tissue that creates the erection, or so the blood comes in and it just fills up the tissue. Mm. Yeah, the spongy tissue. It can hold it in, essentially. Yeah, it's actually really interesting. But yeah, I think that that tissue might actually be easier to regenerate. I don't know. I actually have no idea. Than the foreskin.
I think it's definitely more. I think it might be a little bit more complicated because of the thickness of it. I think that makes it a lot more difficult.
Right.
Because of that, but I don't know. The innervation might make a challenge as well. I don't know.
Right. And the movement, like the delicate movement of it that has to happen. It has to like be structurally. It's hard to get that structurally right because it's like such an interesting movement. It has to. Most things that you're trying to regenerate, they don't have to move like that and have that functional movement that does, but some definitely do. But it is interesting. Skin, muscle, mucosal, Tyson's gland, innervation, frenulum, Frenner band is what high. Yeah, it's definitely a lot.
Right. Anyways, I got to get going as well here. I have some things I need to finish today.
Right. Yeah.
So.
All right, man. Good talking with you. We'll catch up
Good
again
talking
here
with you as
soon.
well. All right. See you later.
Alrighty. Peace out, man. Later.
One more comment I'll make before we end. Feel free to do subscribe to this channel on Facebook and YouTube, which is in the description of this video. Join the Facebook group, and we also post other things that are happening on Intact Community. And bye. But also hi. Well, if you want to join one of these discussions, I would love to have you on here as well, or anyone else join discussion or host a discussion. I'm on the verge of quitting this because I need more people to host, and I'm not meeting my quota. I'm trying to build up a community of people hosting shows, and so I need more people to volunteer to help host. So all you have to do is come on here and talk to random people about circumcision. And please reach out to me if you'd like to do that. And please join the conversations in the future as well. Yeah, I would love to hear from all of you. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to share your screen. That's okay if you do not share your screen. That's just fine. That's not a requirement. I will add on Friday at 12 a.m. Pacific time, which is 1 Mountain Time, 2 Central Time, 3 Eastern Time. We will have a discussion on foreskin restoration with Wesley Wilson. I will be there as well. He will be hosting. And yeah, you don't have to share your camera. I mean, you just have to share your voice, obviously, but yeah, that'll be on Friday. So please come join us on Friday, 12 o'clock Pacific time. And and we're having discussions in the chat. Yeah, I think that's it for today. Oh, yeah, subscribe. I already said that. Oh, yeah, and you can support me on Patreon if you want to. I need money. I'm really poor. I'm dying, guys. I'm literally dying. I'm like fighting to keep my apartment because I'm disabled and have other problems. So if you give me money, I will be able to do more of this. Also, appreciate it. And that's it. Talk to y'all later. Oh, and I will be back next Wednesday on 1 p.m. at 1 p.m. Pacific time, as I am every week. So I will see y'all then. Bye.